Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Joey McKenzie from joeymckenzie.tech. So I'm starting a new sort of short form content meant for just kind of daily developer tips or developer tips that you might use in general. I use these throughout my day during, just kind of when I get into my flow state and my developer state, just kind of in my everyday workflow. Today I wanted to talk about configuring pre-commit hooks with Husky. So commit hooks are something that I have thrown into my developer workflow again, and have definitely I've seen a lot of benefit in these, especially when we're checking code in. We like to make sure our code's formatted. We like to make sure it's linted. I run unit tests inside of my pre-commit hooks, and so that allows me the opportunity to if I'm not working on a large team, I can offload running my unit tests and my CI pipelines within my commits. And so now I'm not running my CI pipelines as long. And so I kind of save a little bit on, cloud CI runtimes, which may save me a little bit of money, or the organization a little bit of money in the long run. So I think there's a lot of value in pre-commit hooks and, configuring them for any language. I know we see Husky a lot in the JavaScript, TypeScript context, but that's not necessarily, we don't have to necessarily just use Husky for JavaScript, TypeScript projects. We can use them for any project that we want to. And so today I kind of want to showcase how we might use Husky in a Go and Rust project that might coexist side by side. Now, not saying that you should ship production software with Go and Rust in the same repository, but again, just as an example, we're just going to kind of run through and see what hooking Husky up inside of a repository that is not JavaScript or TypeScript based might look like. Now, there are other pre-commit frameworks out there, and as a matter of fact, if we take a look, there are pre-commit hooks for Go. So if I take a look at pre-commit here. And so this is, again, the sort of framework that I happened to stumble upon some time ago and sort of discover Git hooks. This is, again, just a framework that you can, or just a tool that you can install on your local development machine. It does require Python. And so, again, I'm not specifically using this mostly because I don't really have that much experience with it. If you're more akin to using this pre-commit tool, you're more than welcome. I opt to use Husky because it's NPM based. And I think, as developers, we kind of all have experience using NPM tooling. And so it kind of fits nicely into our developer workflow, especially if we're already inside of, a project that might have some sort of server-side backend language like .NET or Rust or Go. And then I might have like a JavaScript, TypeScript-based front-end project. And so, Husky, again, just being an NPM package, I can just go ahead and put it right in my package JSON, and I'm ready to go. So again, you're more than welcome to use pre-commit as well. I opt to use Husky, and as a matter of fact, if we actually take a look, we should see Go pre-commits. Let's go back. Go pre-commit hooks. We should see an implementation for it. And again, this is just as an example. So here's a project that, again, is using pre-commit specifically for your Go runs. And so you'll see there's a lot of good stuff in here. So we try and, tidy up our stuff. We build our tests, or we build our code. We run unit tests. We run Golang CI lint. Again, just powered up linting for Go. We format all of our code. We do all that good stuff that we want to do, that we really should be doing before we check code in. But again, pre-commit hooks just kind of put that gate in front of us and kind of just put a layer before we check code in, so that it runs all this stuff, so we don't have to think about it as developers when we check code in. I'm not manually trying to format my code as I check it in. I can just rely on my commit hooks to go ahead and take care of all that stuff for me. So let's actually jump into some code here. So I'm using WSL. So again, this same concepts will apply if you're working on just a Windows system, or Mac, whatever your preferred development environment is. I'm using Debian. So I'm going to go ahead and just spin up a new project here. I'm going to start with a Cargo or a Rust project using Cargo. So I'm going to say Cargo new. Let's make this a binary. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this Husky pre-commit let's call this the sandbox. Okay, cool. So this is going to go ahead and spin up a new cargo project for me. I'm going to go ahead and open this in VS Code. So I'll say Husky pre-commit sandbox. Go ahead and open that guy up. That should open in VS Code for me. Cool. All right, so like I said, I'm also going to have a Go project running side by side. And again, purely as an example to show that we can hook Husky into pretty much any language that we want, as long as the tooling is there to back up the language. I picked Rust and Go because they, fortunately for us, have built-in nice code quality tools. And I'm a .NET dev by day, but lately I've been writing a lot of Go and Rust kind of in my spare time. And so, you know, again, same concepts will all apply to your favorite programming language, as long as there's some sort of code quality tooling available for you. So I'm going to go ahead and, so if we crack open main.rs here, so I see, you know, some nice stuff. I'm going to go ahead and initialize a Git repository, because again, we already had that thanks to cargo, but again, these are pre-commit hooks. So in order for my pre-commit hooks to run, I need to be inside of a Git-based context. So I need to be within a working Git repository. So cool. So I have my basic Rust project. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this project. So I'll run a cargo build, and then we'll just go ahead and cargo run that. And really, I could just go with a plain old cargo run. And so I see hello world is spit out in the console for me. So if I were to add all this code, well, let's just say real quick, let's add maybe a couple of tests here, or before we even get there, let's kind of space this code out. Let's make this code look rather disgusting. And so now if I go ahead and I run my code, again, my code's going to build, doesn't care how it's formatted. But if I were to check code in like this, or if I were to see code like this in a PR, I might have an issue with it. So, before I check code in my development environment, so in the .NET world, we have .NET format. Similar to .NET format with the rest, I can go ahead and run a cargo format, and that'll just go ahead and clean my code up for me, so I don't really have to think about it. Now, more often than not, we are probably running some sort of extensions that will do this for us, like Prettier or Rust Analyzer or GoPlease, or any of those tools that we kind of have available to us. And especially if you're using VS Code, right? We probably have format on save checked. I think I don't have it enabled specifically for this example. But again, we're using our pre-commit hooks as just kind of like a gate in front of our actual source code out, to wherever I might want to store it, in Bitbucket, GitLab, or GitHub, wherever. And I'm just kind of putting that code quality check right in front of it and saying, okay, I'm not letting you actually put this in the remote repository until it's all formatted, it's linted, possibly unit tested, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and just for my Rust project, now I'm going to go ahead and just, again, make this code look rather disgusting. Okay, so this is fine. I could check this in if I wanted to, but I don't really want to check it in just yet. Again, I want to have some Git hooks that will just do this automatically for me, so I don't really have to think about it. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to the Husky documentation. I'll kind of do a side-by-side view here. So in my Husky docs, so if we scroll down a bit here, we should see some stuff here. Now, again, it's an NPM tool, so I do need to be within an NPM context. So let's actually go ahead and spin up a new NPM project here, and I could just create a and actually let's do that instead. Might be a little easier for us to just kind of get going here. So I'll just go ahead and spin up a new package .json, and whoops, not a directory. Let's get rid of that. Just go ahead and add a package JSON file. I'll drop into here, and let's add some dev dependencies. So let's go back. Okay, so I'm going to add a dev dependency on, and again, my indent formatting is not correct here. I don't have an editor config set up to tell my editor, hey, I only want 2 spaces of indent on JSON files or JavaScript files. So not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead, just do that, get rid of that. Okay, so I've just got an empty package JSON file. Let's go ahead and spin up everything we need to get Husky going. And again, if you're running Yarn, if you're running PNPM, you know, you can kind of take the commands you need. I'm just going to use regular old npm. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this stuff up. And so we see that it prepares a bit of stuff here for me. So it gives me a prepare script. So that means anytime anyone pulls down this repository and then runs an npm install, prepare will run sort of implicitly. And so it'll kind of get Husky set up. It'll create the Husky directory, you know, add the hooks that it needs inside of your git config. So if you were to actually look at your .git directory, you'll see a few different changes in there thanks to Husky. And so now I have Husky installed as a dependency. So if I take a look at what Husky added for me, I do have a pre-commit hook here. And so Husky added this for me. Now, I don't have an npm test script. So what Husky is doing here, it's a pre-commit script. Again, it's just a simple shell script. It's going to run npm test inside of this context. Well, I don't have an npm test script to actually run. What I'm running is a cargo project or a Rust project. So what I really want to run instead of npm test is I want to run cargo, and in our case, we're formatting our code. So let's just go ahead and run a cargo format. So now, if I were to commit these files, say git add, and then I'll just run a commit here, and I'll just say adding some awesome feature code that is surely bug free. Cool. And you'll see a bunch of, I actually accidentally added a bunch of stuff that I don't want in there. So I'm going to drop into my git ignore, and I'm going to say node modules, let's ignore those. Okay, now these are already staged, so let's just go ahead and get rid of them. So I'll run a git rm cached recursively. Let's get rid of those node modules files. Cool. Okay, so I got rid of all those. My git ignore file's all good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run my git add again so I can check out that I'm not, I don't want those node files in there, and it picks up my git ignore file. So let's run that same commit message again, and I should see a lot less stuff happening. Okay, so deleted. Okay, cool. Now, if you take a look at our Rust file here, remember that it kind of had all that white space in there, and all that stuff was kind of just all over the place. So what Husky did is it actually ran cargo format for me, and so now my code looks nice and clean, right? So if I actually do that again, so I'll jump up here, I'll add some space, yada yada yada. Okay, I'm going to save. I'm going to run again. Again, I'm just going to commit same awesome feature code that's bug free. Cool. So I have some stuff that ran for me. My formatter ran. I don't have to worry about it, right? Awesome. So, well, what about unit testing? What if I wanted to add, you know, some tests here? So let's just add a simple function, and let's just call this, you know, function add 10. And let's just say that this takes any old number. Doesn't really matter. You know, we'll just take a, whoops. We'll take an I32. We'll let you pass in negative numbers if you so choose, and let's just return an I32. So I'm going to take the number that you give this function, and then let's just add 10 to it. Cool. So, you know, obviously if I jump up here, and then I say, you know, let, you know, my number plus 10. So let's just take add 10, and let's just add 10 to 10. Let's actually print that out to the console. So I'll say print line, just print this number for me, please. So I'll jump over here, let's back up a little bit, whoops. Okay, so then I'll print my number plus 10. So now, if I were to run this, I should see 20 being printed out in the console. So it's gonna run build hello world 20. Okay, great. Cool. So I got a function in here. Well, I should probably make sure this function works the way I expect it to. So let's go ahead and add a test here. So again, let's add a test here. And you know, this is not a discussion about Rust and how to program in Rust. Again, I'm using Rust solely as an example language here. The languages are not the highlight of this. Husky, it would be the highlight. So let's actually run a test. So I'll say function. Let's just do should add 10 to a number. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this, and I'm just gonna write really probably the simplest assert that you can write. So let's just run an add 10, number 10, and I should get 20. Okay, so let's see now. If I actually run cargo test, I should build. Okay, cool, I've got a test. Well, let's actually make sure this isn't a false positive. I don't think the last time I checked 10 plus 10 is 21, but let's make sure. So I'm going to run this again, cargo test, and I should see a failure in the console. Cool, so I've got a failure. All right, so I'm going to change this back to that. Okay, so later on in my life cycle here, I might want to add some different numbers. Maybe if I add like -11, I should get -1, right? Okay, well, maybe I did my arithmetic wrong, and now I've got -2. So we know that that test is probably going to fail, and, oh, we got to define a new one. This should add 10 to a negative number. Okay, so if I run this cargo test, I'm going to have one test pass, one test fail. Okay, so I got what I expected. So now in my pre-commit hooks, I want to catch that stuff up front, right? And there are other tools to run our tests as well. So like every time I hit save or every time I stop typing, there are plugins that you can use to run your tests for you if you want. But again, we're focusing just on pre-commit hooks being sort of that last final code quality check. So let's say before you check any code into this repository, I want you to run just the unit test. Let's make sure everything passes. That way, if we need to roll back to whatever commit, I'm guaranteed that that commit I roll back to, all the tests pass. Again, that's not a real sort of indicator that our tests or our code is great, because writing tests is a whole different topic for a different day. But let's just go ahead and run those tests just to make sure that when I do commit, everything passes and I don't have to worry about it. So again, I'll just run that and then git commit. Again, I'm adding some awesome feature code that is 100% bug free, because we don't write bug free code, or we don't write bug code. Okay, and right there, bam. So I got a failure, and if I take a look again at main, so I see some stuff was cleaned up for me. But now, if I run a git status, I still have some code to commit. So I only have a few things that were staged, right? So I have changes that were not staged. And that's because Husky stopped the commit for me and said, okay, well, you had a test failure. I didn't get a proper operating system error code back, which means everything didn't run the way I expected to. So I'm not going to let you commit this. Okay, well, I caught that. So let's actually go back and let's go ahead and I think -11 plus 10 is -1. And so again, I'm just going to add some white space. I'm just not really going to care about my fellow developers and kind of the way that they should read code. So I'm going to go ahead and space some stuff out. So now if I run a git add, and then let's run that stuff again. So now I know this test should pass, but that format does not please my eye. So let's see what happens when I commit my code here. So now I should have some stuff run. Cool. It's going to clean up my code for me, hopefully. Oh, and you'll see VS Code actually, so I had this file open, right? I'm looking at it, but you'll see that there's, if I were to like hit save, I'm going to get something in the console. Oh, whoops, I didn't save in the first place. Let's actually run that again. So I'm going to run a git add, git commit. Okay, so now it's going to run, clean all this stuff up for me. It's going to run my tests. Awesome. Okay, but what about the cases where, I want my linters to run, where, maybe I'm not doing something that is not, or maybe I'm doing something that's not really obvious for me, right? So let's say, I don't use my number plus 10 here. I'm just going to print -1 to the console. Okay, well now I'm not using this variable. So if I run cargo check, or I could also run cargo clippy. Clippy again, just another linter for Rust. So now I'm going to get this, hey, it looks like you got some unused code here. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm not a big fan of having unused code inside of my repositories unless you have a really good reason to keep it around. So now, if I run into my pre-commit file and I pass over a cargo check, I should see, again, if I git add, cool, and then I can git commit, I'll say -m. Again, just adding some awesome feature code that's surely bug-free. I'll get some warnings going off. Now, I'm not stopping the process because technically a lint is not a build failure in most cases, unless we explicitly say that. So it's going to allow me to check this code in, but it's going to fire off all these warnings, as well as formatting all my code and running all my unit tests. Cool. So we have Husky hooked up. Let's add one more tool in here, just so we can really make sure that our checked in files are kind of what we expect here. So if I, another tool that I like to use a lot is lint-staged. And so what this will do is this will run my formatters on all the code that I check in. So there are times where running formats, so running cargo format on code that's about to be checked in, doesn't necessarily mean that that formatted code is the file that might get staged. And so, if we don't explicitly say run the formatters on the final checked in version of the code, then I might have to, save all my files again after they've been formatted, and then have another commit that, checks in all of the formatted code. Let's just go ahead and save ourselves some pain here by installing lint-staged. So I'll say npm install lint-staged. Go ahead and add this guy in here. All right, so now I should have package.json. All right, so now in my package.json I have lint-staged. And to lint-staged, I'm going to add a target here. And I'm going to say lint-staged. And so this is going to tell lint, whoops, forgot my guy there. Okay, so this is going to tell lint-staged, okay, I want you to run these specific commands on any files that are checked in. And we can use glob patterns. So I'm going to jump into here and I'm going to say on any Rust file, I want you to actually run cargo format. I'm just going to pass over the double flag there because I want you to just more or less ignore anything that lint-staged passes in or anything like that. So now, instead of formatting my code up front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to format my code after my checks have ran, where I've run my linters, so either check or clippy or whatever linter you might be using in your respective language. I'm going to run my unit tests, but then I'm also going to run lint-staged. And so now if I drop back into the console, I'll add all my files here, and actually let's run again, proof of concept. Like let's add some white space here. Let's make our code look really, really gross. So I'll come over here, add some more white space. Let's put that trailing brace up there, right? We should make some code that is not pretty to look at. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that. And now I'm going to commit, and I'm just going to say again, adding some awesome feature code that's surely bug-free. And so let's see. Oh, I didn't save. Okay, so I'm actually going to run that again. So I'm going to say git add, and then I'm going to run these commits again. And now we should see in the console, and lint-staged will actually check all of our stage files, and it sees that okay, some stuff ran, but now we have prevented an empty git commit. So what do we have here? Allow empty or check it. Okay. So we have some stuff here. Let's actually take a look. We'll do a little live debugging. So lint-staged prevented an empty git commit. Use the allow empty. Oh, let's run back here. Let me add some more changes. Okay. Git add. Let me save. Let me save all my files just to make sure that everything's okay. So git and fixing bugs. Okay. Whoops. So I'll say git commit, and let's actually make sure that we're running our lint-staged. Let me make sure I have a cheat sheet here. I can actually look at some stuff. Okay, so there it is. Cool. So that's what I want to run. So I'm cargo formatting. Cool. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that commit again. Okay. All right, so we did have another error. So let's see. Prevented an empty git commit. Allow empty. So let's see, I'm not familiar with this one. Let's see, lint-staged protected an empty git commit. Let's take a look at that. So nothing like a little live debugging here. Yeah, let's just allow empty commits for now. Just go ahead and I'll pass this in. Oh, you know what? I think it was because I actually ran without flags there. Okay, so let's go ahead and again, I'll add everything and let me change. Okay, so all my stuff's there. So now if I go and run a git commit, same thing, fixing bugs. Okay, so now this says it doesn't like my format command. I think for now, let's just go ahead and explicitly format. Let's do this. We'll do an emit. What do we want? Is it false? Let me take a look. Again, I'm not a Rust expert by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. I've been writing a bit of Rust lately, and so I've been having a lot of fun with it, so I just decided to pick Rust for this. So I'm using cargo make. Okay, so let's jump into my make file here, and so we should see a format target. Let's see. Okay, emit files, that's what I want. Okay, so let's pass over those. I'll go ahead and I'll add everything again. I'll go ahead and I'll get commit. Let me run that same guy, fixing bugs, and let's see what we get out in the console at least. Okay, so we still failed. It didn't like that emit. Oh, because I forgot my double tick. Okay, so now we'll get add. We'll run that same commit again. Okay, so now my linters are running, all my tests are running. Now my code is finally cleaned up. Now if I also take a look at my main.rs file, all my code is what I expect it to be. Now, real quick, I did say that this, again, Husky doesn't care what language you run. So just for fun, real quick here in the last couple of minutes, let's just go ahead and add a Go project. Why not? So I'll say go mod init Husky, and again, let's just do Husky pre-commit sandbox. Awesome. Okay, so there's my Go mod. I'm going to go ahead and add a main.go file. So if I go ahead and I say package, whoops. So if I say package main, I'll jump down to here and I'll say func main. And again, let's just print to console. We're not really too worried about writing some high quality production code here. So I'll say hello world. And so now if I save that, I drop it in the console and I say go run main.go, hello world. Okay, so now I can also vet my code with Go, which again, just linting. So I can say go vet my main.go file. And so, I can jump down to here and it'll add some stuff for me. So now if I run go thumped, oops, I can do go thumped that. Should clean up some stuff for me. So like if I remove that white, oh, I think I have some, some extensions installed that are actually cleaning up the Go code for me. So not really too worried about it, but same stuff all applies for Go. If I were to run into here and I were to, let's just create a quick function. Let's just say half number, and let's just say, this takes a number, which could be an int, and let's just return an int integer division. Probably not the best example here, but let's just go ahead and take my number and I'll just divide it by 2. Oops, got Rust brain going on. And so I'll say that. Okay, so let's actually test this function out here. So if I jump over to the console, I'm going to jump and I'm going to make a main test file. And so my main test file, so this will just be again in the same package. So I'll say package main. Right, okay, that's what we got. Okay, so now I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to say func. Whoops, didn't like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to say test main, or I'm going to say test half number, and this will take a testing t, and I think I still have Rust brain going on. This should really, if I'm sticking to convention here, half number. I'll jump over here into the console, and I want to run this. Okay, cool. And so this is going to say, hey, I don't know what testing is, so let's actually go ahead and import that. So I'm just going to run into here, and I'm going to say if t, or actually let's say this. If half number 10 is not 5, go ahead and just fail this test and say, that's not half, you dummy. All right. Whoops, what did I forget here? Is this, oh, wait, I just want to pass in a number here. I want, not fail, I want fail F, right? No, I want error, that's what I want. Okay. That's not half a number, you dummy. So now if I run go test, I should see, okay, all my tests pass. Okay, well, let's add another test. All right, well, half of 11 surely isn't 5. So let's see what happens if I run that. Go test. Okay, well, it passed. Integer division, right? What I said. Probably not the best example here due to flooring. So let's go ahead and take half of 12. So if I take half of 12 now, oh, I got a test failure. That's not half, you dummy. Okay. So I've got a test that's going to fail. So let's hook up Git to my pre-commit hooks, and I'm going to run the same stuff. So I'm going to run a go format. I'm going to run a go. Actually, again, we're not formatting our code because we want lint-staged to take care of that, because our staged checked in files should really be the ultimate files that are formatted, because those are the ones that will eventually get pushed up to our remote repository. So I'll say go vet, and let's actually do any Go file that you find in this repository, and then let's also test all files in this repository. So now, if I run a git add, git commit, adding another language because complexity, why not? Okay, so now I'm going to commit this. So my Rust stuff is going to run. So I formatted. So I checked. I tested my Rust code. Now I'm vetting my Go code. Now I'm testing my Go code, and I saw that I had a failure. Okay, well, let's fix this failure because I'm checking Go code in now. So half of 12 is 6. I know that. So let's go ahead and git add that. I'll go ahead and run some commits here. I should be committing all my stuff. Cool. So now if we actually take a look at the console here, if I expand it a bit, we should see all my linters firing off. Okay, so that tells me, well, I should probably check this code out before I try and push it up to a remote repository. I see that my Go tests ran, my Go test was, or my Go stuff was formatted, and everything's all good to go. I can push this up to a remote repository. So now, we have Husky working, we have our pre-commit hooks firing, we have 2 different languages in the same repository. We're running checks on all of that code before we push it up to a remote repository. And again, this is just us kind of taking the example of Husky and what we can do with it, and not being necessarily tied down to a specific language with pre-commit hooks. But you're more than welcome to use your pre-commit hook tool of choice. I defer to Husky because it's easy to set up. It's an NPM package. I think we're all kind of familiar with that. So so again, Husky pre-commit hooks in a nutshell, and I think we'll cut it off there. So if you got any comments or anything like that, go ahead and feel free to drop them below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.